Sneakers and Cleats, the podcast. Hold on, let's start that again. It's welcome back to the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. It is Monday, August 12th. Obviously a Monday because I'm not even hitting the volume over here. So
I'm just curious at this mic.
You can fix the mic.
Not sure what that's all about, but
I just wanted you to be taller.
okay. Yeah. I always had that hope for myself as well. Some things work out.
What
some
happened?
things
Did you
don't.
get a little mini microphone?
No, I accidentally put it really high. I thought he would fix it, but he didn't realize it.
Matt thought it was one size fits all, and we all clearly know that that's not the case.
By the way, people at home watching on the interweb, Matt Roy is a mountain of a man. Matt Roy is 6'7", 273.
I'm 6'5" and a half.
No way.
I'm 6'5" and 5/8. Actually, that's what I got measured in football, and I do weigh 270 right now. So I am a pretty large human being. Dropping weight. We're back in the gym now, getting after it.
Good. So, you could start at like tackle at Texas State, maybe.
I mean,
270.
You look at a lot of those FCS programs.
I don't know if you can get on the field at a lot of high schools around here.
That's true. Tight end, maybe. Tight end. Center.
My shoulder wouldn't put up with even one snap of football anymore. I'm not as good as I once was.
6'7", 270.
Yeah.
When's the last time you dunked a basketball?
What'd you say?
When's the last time you dunked a basketball?
Every year. I make sure. I'm just like Chase Shannon. I make sure I can dunk every year.
You can't dunk right now.
I can totally dunk right now. 100%.
A 10-foot goal.
NBA regulation.
Yes.
He's 6'5" with a long arm.
I only have to jump like a foot and a half.
I'm going to give you $20 if you can dunk a basketball.
All right, deal. How many attempts do I get?
3.
All right, I need to warm up first, but all right, I can do that easy.
Why do I feel like somebody's going to have a workman's comp situation going here?
All right, let's get to actually what we're here for. Don Harris, Chuck Miketinac, Matt Roy, along tap. We had one of a great weekend of basketball, especially the gold medal game between Victor Wembanyama and France and Team US playing for gold. Ended up being an 11-point game, but it was a lot closer than the final score indicated. Wemby had a great game. Now Victor is telling our friend Mike Finger that the world should be on notice.
Yep.
And
22 million people.
I love what he said, and so we'll get into that a little bit. Plus, the Cowboys lose their preseason opener. I didn't think they looked great doing it, but some players did, and in fact, look pretty good. But we're going to get to all of that in a second. We're going to get to trivia first. Because Wemby is going to be going into his second season, I looked up who has scored the most points in their second season in NBA history. I cut it down to 1979 because I didn't want to count Wilt because it's his record book.
Yes.
So I didn't want to count Wilt. So I cut it to 1979-80. Since the 1979-80 season, which player has scored the most points per game in their second season in the league? So in the last 45 years.
So you're saying that the second season was the best of their career?
No, I'm saying that in a player's second season, who scored the most points in any player's second season ever. So like
Durant?
Wemby this year, if Wemby leads the league in scoring and he has 35 points a game, then he goes onto this list.
Okay, like what player led the league in scoring in their second season?
What player scored the most points in their second season of any player in the NBA? In NBA history. For example, Wilt Chamberlain is the leader in this list.
Against anybody else in their second season?
In their second season. So, Wilt is the actual leader all time.
Wilt's second season compared to Durant's second season.
Correct. He scored 38 points a game in his second season. Who, in the last 45 years, has scored the most points in their second season in NBA history?
It wasn't Michael Jordan because Michael Jordan was hurt.
So, we'll give everyone a little bit of time. We'll get to that in a second. But give a little bit of time to think about that one. It's a little bit harder today. I've given you a couple easy ones recently, so I wanted to go a little harder. I know, Chuck, you didn't get last week, so it was way too easy for this guy. So I wanted to make it a little harder today. How was your vacation, by the way?
It was great. Good to be back.
Went up to Green Bay.
I did. Lambeau, you can't beat it. Family night, and tell you what, they're playing chess. Watching that offense do its thing, there's a lot of moving parts. You watch the line go one way. You watch running backs go another way. You're watching receivers do multiple things. And I mean, it's something to behold and look out.
That's all I got to say. Be good, huh?
Matt LaFleur's a good coach, man.
Were they running their first team?
Did they win their first preseason?
They were running their first team?
They ran. It was a controlled scrimmage, but it was just, again, sitting at the top of Lambeau Field and getting a chance to watch that from a bird's eye view there was a lot to take in. Let's just say that.
Let's get into our Lord and Savior here, Victor Wembanyama, and what happened in the gold medal game.
Not mine, for the record. Yes.
I say that jokingly, obviously.
Yes.
Victor Wembanyama scores 26 points, 7 rebounds. France loses by 11 points to the U.S. on Saturday, but I thought it was a phenomenal game. He played his butt off, first of all, and he just got one-upped. He got one-upped by Steph Curry in
unbelievable
every way that you could. I mean, Steph goes off for 12 points, 4 threes in the last 2.5 minutes of the game, one of which was just the most unbelievable, insane circus shot you'll ever see in your life. Like, it was just over 2 guys fading away from the right wing, and just chef's kiss to lock up the game. But what are your thoughts, Don? I know you're our basketball savant here, so what are your thoughts on the game itself?
I was I think I told people in advance, they said, who are you rooting for? And I said, I think I want Wemby to have 50, but for the USA to win. I found myself, during the game, pulling for France.
Did you?
I think found myself pulling for him to do well. And he did. Like, I wanted him to do well. And at the same time, when Steph Curry was doing that thing, I wasn't like, I was glad for Steph. I mean, it was an easy game to watch from that regard. I'll tell you this. There was a shot that Wemby took and missed that I thought it was the biggest play of the game for Spurs fans. There was about 3 and change left. U.S. was up by 3, and it was before Steph hit his 4 3-pointers. But it was a 3-point game, close, 3.5 minutes left. Wemby took a step-back 3 that he missed. He made the next one, and he made the putback after that. But the fact that he took it is what gave me almost goosebumps, because it was like, I belong. I see you, LeBron. I see you, Kevin Durant. I see you, Steph Curry. I belong, and I want this shot. And it was a tough shot. He hit front iron and missed. But the fact that he took another 3 after that and made it, and the fact that he did the putback, I thought for Spurs fans, it was one of those, we got a guy that's got the cojones for the moment, even though it was Steph's moment.
Check, how big do you think it is for Victor to be on the same court with all the legends of our game today, and the legends of the last 20 years? I mean, Steph, LeBron, KD, you see these guys, and it's who have carried the torch for the NBA in the last 20 years. And for Victor now to be a 20-year-old kid playing on the same stage and going shot for shot with the best in the world, what do you think that does for him?
Well, I think it's all a good thing, right? I mean, from what I did see of this entire tournament, it looked like to me that teams cared, right? I mean, you saw a concerted effort by almost all the teams out there to play defense, to run at Victor, to body him, to be physical with him. I don't know that he's gotten a lot of that in the NBA to this point. So all of those things are going to serve him well going forward.
Yeah, he was tougher than I thought. And you can see his growth strength-wise and what he had to face because, I mean, they're not playing around. They know who have to stop.
That's right.
And that was his best offensive game of the Olympics.
Yeah.
I mean, by far. As far as Steph goes, I don't know what else can be said about Steph. He just went completely unconscious. I just kept saying he went dummy mode. Like, he went absolutely crazy in the last 2.5 minutes and really the last 2 games to keep them in this tournament. Without Steph on that team, they do not win the gold medal.
Yeah.
And he put his signature Olympic moment, winning his first gold medal, and now he can go off into the sunset and probably never play in the Olympics again because the Avengers needed their Captain America.
Right.
And Steph Curry, I don't care about Captain L'America. This was Steph America, okay?
In that regard, I had this thought in that Steph's probably past championship mode because they sold off Klay Thompson, and it looks like their window is over at Golden State. And for him to have one more moment, it's not going to happen in the finals, but he's got 4 rings, and he's done those kind of crazy great things in All-Star games and in finals games and in big-time playoff games. For him to have one more moment at his age, I thought was really cool.
For a lot of these players, it's like the Olympic gold medal doesn't seem like the pinnacle for them because obviously I don't think there's any player in the world who wouldn't give a gold medal for an NBA trophy, for a Larry O'Brien. But it seemed like this year they cared more in that case. Like Steph, the emotion that Steph, LeBron, KD showed to win this gold medal, as opposed and doing it all together, the emotion that you saw from Wemby crying on the bench after losing that game, the emotion that you saw from Nikola Jokic in the bronze medal game, the emotion was palpable, and the want to win this seemed like they wanted to win more than previous years.
Isn't that because it's become more competitive?
That's hard to, I don't know. It's hard to, I would imagine, to measure, right? If this team cared more or wanted to win more. I think there's always the threat of the embarrassment for these guys. I mean, for Team USA, you can only win, right? If you do anything other than win, there can't be silver, there can't be bronze. I mean, you're Team USA and you've got that legacy that you can't lose. I can't imagine the pressure that these guys are having to play under and then play well together when you're talking about egos and individual players and how good they all are as individuals. I mean, it really is, they should be commended, the last group too, and all the ones that have won gold, that they've managed to take everybody's best shot. The world's coming for you. All the outside pressure is on Team USA, and then they still delivered. So that's kudos to them. If there's a gold or a titanium medal, they should probably get one as a unit for what they've been able to overcome.
Yeah, because I remember Pop in 2020 crying in the locker room afterwards, and he called it the most meaningful basketball moment of his life over the Spurs 5 championships. But here's the question: for how much longer is it an embarrassment if we only win silver? Because I think we're going to get to the point where it won't be a surprise if a France in 4 years from now or somebody else, if the U.S. doesn't win gold all the time.
I think that's a really good question. Because
it is.
Because, I mean, up until now, 2004 was the biggest embarrassment ever for this men's national team.
Shout out Manu Ginobili.
Yep. Manu is the one that did it, and I thought so everyone on Twitter trying to be like, you have to have your Manu moment, Victor. You have to have your Manu moment. But I think that's a really good point. Like, in 4 years, when Wemby's 24 years old and you have 4 more years of experience, you probably have no LeBron on that team, no KD. You probably have no Steph. You probably have none of these older players. Is it going to be a disappointment or a travesty, as it would have been this year, for the U.S. to lose?
I think for me it still will be, because if you get the right guys, whatever combination that is, and obviously it's above my pay grade, we still got the best dogs on the planet. Yeah. Guys that will,
top to bottom,
doesn't matter if you're playing for a gold medal or for a piece of cardboard at the end of the day, and I think we've got a lot of those guys, regardless of, the Stephs and the LeBrons and, that crew. I mean, Derek White, why wouldn't you ever want that guy on your team? As efficient as a ball player as he is, Drew Holiday, some of these guys that, are going to be in the next one and maybe the one after that too. I will still be disappointed if they lose, because again, if you can find 12 guys in the United States, and we've got the best league on the planet, I don't care who assembles which squad and how good they look. You get the right 12 guys, there's no way we should lose.
I think this year there was more pressure, but I think they put it on themselves by assembling the Avengers, as just so to speak. Like, you recruited Joel Embiid from France and from Cameroon, where he could have played.
He had a big moment too.
And he had a great last 2 games. You recruited him for those moments. You recruited Steph Curry for those moments. You had the best coaching staff on the planet with Eric Spoelstra and Steve Kerr and everybody, and Tyronn Lue and everybody else. You have LeBron. You have all of these guys who have come together to be like, the world isn't on our level yet. And yet we were this close to the world showing them that we are on your level.
I think there's and this has been the case in basketball. If you just take the NBA, there have been times, Tim Duncan in '99, LeBron James when he beat Golden State, where the greatest player in the game, Michael Jordan, although he had Pippen, he really didn't have much else. The greatest player is so great that he's able to beat you. Manu did it. It was, you don't think of Manu as a great player as far as, LeBron and that kind of stuff. Manu's not probably even in the top 20 players of all time. But for that moment he was. And I think with Joker winning 3 MVPs with Serbia or Wemby in the future, 4 years from now, Wemby might be so great that he's able to beat the U.S. with a collection of less talented players than the 12 from the U.S. I don't know.
However, I will say that moment of it being a disappointment if they don't win gold, that's not going to go away until at least 2032. Because when this is in LA in 2028, if they don't win gold in 2028, it's going to be the biggest failure.
It's going to be a huge disappointment, failure, whatever, but I don't know that it's necessarily embarrassing.
That's fair. Let's get to Wemby's comments afterwards. So I think he gave the entire world a collective shiver afterwards when Mike Finger of the Express News tweeted this out, and Wemby is putting the world on notice.
The Spurs staffers, they talk about the currency of experience, just the things that you can put in your bank. Do you think you gained that from this tournament?
Nobody's going to take that from me. It's I'm learning, and it's I'm worried for the opponents in a couple of years.
Yeah, NBA and FIBA.
Everywhere.
Watch out! Watch out! Victor's coming. Worried for the opponents everywhere. I don't want to say should people be scared, but how good can Wemby be? Can Wemby be in 4 years the best player in the NBA, or will he be? Because I think that's what he thinks he's going to be. Between that and the French interview we saw the other day when he said that the Spurs should win a championship in the next 5 years, I think his expectations are something that we haven't even scratched the surface of yet.
Antonio Daniels was on Sports Sunday a month ago, and said he believes Wemby will be the best player in the NBA by year 3. And he said, this is not hyperbole. I totally believe he has the opportunity to be the greatest player who ever played a game. So that's Antonio Daniels. He's an analyst for the New Orleans Pelicans. Take it for what it is, but I think you'll find a lot of hyperbole, but I think Woj said he was the greatest prospect in the history of team sport. I think there's people who think that that's his ceiling. Whether or not he becomes that is another matter, but yes, he can become the best player in the NBA.
Well, I think you have to like his verve, right? If he's saying this at his age with, coming off a big win, obviously, at the Olympics, but really hasn't had a team that he's played on here, obviously, after 1 year, to do something really great. So as long as he believes and he keeps making progress, it's one of those things, you're not going to be able to say that he's not until it doesn't happen, if that makes any sense.
If I told you by the time that 2028 rolled around and Victor Wembanyama would be the best player in the world at the time of those Olympics, would you call me crazy?
No. I think he could be the best player in the world before that.
Yeah, I'm not ready to go there yet. I got to see.
Who's going to be better?
I don't know. Nikola will still be pretty damn good. He's a pretty young age for how great
that
he's
Anthony
been.
Edwards is pretty good.
Anthony Edwards is going to be great. Luka's still going to be great. But all right.
Do you think Wemby will ever get to the point where he gets down on the block and they need some points and he can deliver? Because
he already can.
But can he right now?
We saw it in a couple of regular season games down the stretch. Where they needed a bucket late and they put him on the low block and he made a good fast move. It's not France. I think if you're watching that, you're going, Pop and RC aren't loving the way the French are playing him, because they had him 30 feet away from the basket a lot of time, and that's where he kind of fell in love with that when he first came to San Antonio. And the Spurs finally convinced him to move closer to the basket. Mm-hmm. And then France pulled him back out.
Or you can play like that if you're France when you got Gobert on the other side of that. So
they took Gobert off before because they didn't want him playing that close to. They didn't want him playing next to each other. You can just see the congestion down low when Gobert's in the game and Wemby's in the game.
I think it makes sense too. At this stage of his career, he's going to learn a lot of moves down on the block, and it would be, I think, foolhardy to not think that wasn't going to occur given his size.
Early in the game, they went to him on Embiid. I don't know if you guys remember this. It was on the left block. He caught it and went quickly and scored a left-handed layup. I think it was the first points of the game, if not the second bucket.
Might have been, yeah.
And it was a nice, quick move. He caught it on the block and went quickly.
They had a very clear game plan to get him involved early and often.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's get to our trivia question before we get to the Cowboys. So, Wemby's coming up on his second year in the league, which prompted this trivia question. Since 1979-80 season, which player has scored the most points per game in their second season in the league? So that would be if Wemby goes out and scores 40 a game next year, he would then be at the top of this list because that would be his second year in the league. So, Don, any guesses? And give me your logic behind the guess.
Well, it's going to have to be somebody that won a scoring title. It's going to have to be somebody that scored over 30. And it's going to have to be somebody who was great right away when they were young. And I'm going to say the first names that popped in my mind were Bob McAdoo, Kobe Bryant, Allen Iverson. But I don't know. That's a good one. I don't know the answer.
Give me a guess.
This is a person in their second year?
Person in their second year in the league. In this person's sophomore season.
What was Larry Bird's second year?
Would have been 84?
Yeah, but Bird wasn't a volume scorer.
No, it would have been earlier than 84. It would have been 81.
He was like 24.
So that would count.
But he wasn't a 30-point game guy. How about Bernard King?
Nice.
I don't know.
Bernard King
I'm going to go with Allen Iverson.
Allen Iverson's the guess. Chuck,
That's a good guess.
You want to throw a name out there, Chuck?
Durant. And I'll just
Go
stop
Durant.
there because I could spitball all day, and I'm sure I'm never even going to come close to this.
Hassan Reddick has just requested a trade from the Jets. That's funny.
Who did?
Hassan Reddick. Oh. Because he didn't get his contract, even though they just acquired him from the Eagles. Anyway, Bob, you got a guess?
I always guess Bingo Smith.
The answer is none of those.
Okay.
2019-20 season. Trey Young scored 29.6 points in his second season in the league.
That makes
Never
sense.
would have guessed that.
That makes sense because the league's gotten to be where you can't guard anybody anymore.
And then after that, second on this list since in the last 45 years was 93-94. Have a guess for who that could be? 93-94. Shaq. 93-94 season, his second year in the league. He scored 29.3. Same season as Trey Young, Luka scored 28.5. And then LeBron in 04-05, LeBron went 27.2. Zion in 2020-21 season, he goes for 27. The furthest name back on this list is Kelly Tripucka. Tripucka, 26.5.
From Chuck.
Notre Dame.
There you go.
In the 82-83 season. And then Vince Carter in 99-2000 season scored 25.5 for the Toronto Raptors. So finally stumped you.
You got me.
I had to bring in a tough one today, so sorry.
Kelly
But anyway,
Tripucka. Think of the names that you thought you weren't going to hear today.
Kelly
When
Tripucka.
Kelly Tripucka's name would hit the list. Yeah.
Wristbands, man.
And the curly hair, man.
He had the full wristbands.
Hey, that was sneaky Matt Roy today, all right?
Yeah,
we
that
got
was.
you guys. Let's go to the Cowboys preseason game. So the Rams defeat the Cowboys 13-12. The score really doesn't matter, even though, Stetson Bennett scored that touchdown on 4th and goal with 4 seconds left, right? How
about that throw, though? After a series of bad ones by that quarterback by the Rams, that was as funky, a little sidearm, I don't know what you call it, but it was a hell of a throw to win a ball game.
Yeah, and obviously the Rams played their third-string quarterback. No Matt Stafford, no Jimmy Garoppolo, so it is for what it is. But the good, the bad, the ugly when it comes to the Cowboys. For me, I thought the good was there was a lot of good in the game, even though it wasn't the most clean game in the world. DeMarvion overshone Mozzie Smith showed me something yesterday, though. And we've been talking about DeMarvion since last year, and we thought he was going to play a significant role last year, and then he tore his ACL, and now he's back with a vengeance. He had that tackle for a loss in the first quarter. He was flying all over the field. Number 13 is all over.
Love that guy. Got a great motor, proven it. I think Cowboy fans should be encouraged by the Zimmer addition because they got 4 interceptions, which means the guys are put in the right place. And I think Bell had one of those interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
He also had 9 tackles. I think he played well. Is it Proper, the receiver?
Yeah, Cropper.
Cropper.
Yeah.
I think he was as good as anybody on the offense, which wasn't great. I want to be impressed by Trey Lance because I'm in that.
We're going to get to Trey in a second.
I'm in that camp that maybe they should move on from Dak. I don't know about that now.
We can talk about Trey in a second. Chuck, what'd you like? What was the good for you yesterday?
I thought 88 for the Rams was pretty damn good.
Jordan Whittington. He was all over the field.
Yeah, 7 catches, 60-something yards.
Elite hair, too.
He does, no question.
Cuero Gobbler.
I think the fascinating thing about him was, why did he go so late in the draft? Because, he moves different than most guys. And I guess it's a matter just for him. staying healthy. But, I'm still trying to get a read on what I kind of value in terms of watching what Trey Lance did in the game yesterday. 25 of 41, right, or something like that, throwing it. Like, that's not horrible. He didn't turn it over, so that's a positive. But there's still too much of ... instead of ... He just takes a long time to be able to make a decision with where to go with the football, which was some of the things I think we noticed during OTAs and minicamp. So I think it's a process, right? And you got to have some grace. Probably the most football the guy's played in a year. So there were some moments that he had where he looked okay. There were some other moments where you're going, okay, this is still very much a work in progress. And I think for Cowboy fans, this is also, hopefully your epiphany that the guy that you got back there is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
As
And
insignificant.
you don't want to have anything happen to him.
As insignificant as the score is in a preseason game, the Cowboys should have won this game because Trey Lance overthrew 3 touchdowns. And it's just his timing, to your point, looks awful. He looks lost sometimes with what his reads are. Is it A to B to C, or where's my A actually at? If his A is closed, then he goes to D instead of to B and C. Like, his reads are off. To McCarthy's point, which we'll hear in a second, they're trying to teach him almost from scratch is what it sounds like. They're trying to teach him, this is the footwork we need you to do. These are the mechanics we need you to have. And a year in, it doesn't look like he's exactly where they want him to be. So for me, my bad for the good, the bad, the ugly is Trey Lance. I was not impressed with him.
It's not like he's a rookie, too. He's been in the league a while.
Yeah, this is his 4th year in the league.
I think this goes back to, he played a limited number of games in college. The kid hasn't played a lot of football, but he shows you flashes. Things break down. He had maybe some guys open. He didn't get rid of the ball and try to find a receiver, but he still has the ability. He's got some scat in him. He's able to take off and run with the football.
That's really good for a running
almost
back.
50 yards. Correct. But he kept some drives alive. Again, it's one preseason game, and everything that you're saying, I'm not saying I disagree with you.
Yeah.
But I feel like there was at least some progress made yesterday with what I saw.
Bob, for 1 second, let's get to Coach Mike McCarthy. This is responding to a question from Todd Archer asking about the overthrows from Trey Lance.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think these are things that we need to work on, and frankly, I probably went more drop back than I may normally in that type of game. So, but yeah, I'm trying to get as much as I can with him. We want to see him run the offense and at a high level. And yeah, but the footwork and some of the things we're asking him to do conceptually, they're new. So we need work. We just need as much time as we can. I know I said it every time I talk about him, but he's making good progress. He's definitely wired the right way. He's a great athlete. We just have a lot of work to do.
Definitely have a lot of work to do. I mean, like I said, I personally am of the belief that Trey Lance will never be a starting NFL quarterback. I don't know if I've seen enough to make him a top 16 backup quarterback, though, to this point. Like, we just haven't seen enough good from him to warrant any talk that he can take over as a starting quarterback for somebody.
That's fair.
The Niners saw enough of him to pick him, 5th overall?
Yeah, and it might go down as one of the worst draft picks, worst draft day trades of all time.
Could be.
I mean, immediately, and Kyle Shanahan has said this on the record, like, immediately when they all got into camp, he went over to John Lynch and was like, our third guy might be our best quarterback.
Talking about
Brock Purdy. And that's with Pundy.
Yes.
And that's with Trey Lance there. And I think that was with Jimmy G there as well. Like, he knew right away that Trey Lance did not have it.
Right.
And yet the Cowboys give up a 4th-round pick for him. And now they're probably going to be without him after this season unless they give him pennies on the dollar, which, I mean, if you want to keep him for pennies on the dollar after the season, then go right ahead. But another good thing I saw, Tyler Guyton obviously came in. And my good goes along with the ugly, which was the injury to Chuma Edoga. Obviously, you don't want to see injuries in the game. Don't know if Chuma Edoga is going to be injured for a while, the severity of that injury yet, really. But Tyler Guyton filling in at left tackle, I think they found their left tackle of the future. I really do. He's a big, strong man. And if he's
been dominating Parsons in camp.
Yeah, I mean, he's been extremely impressive. And I think he didn't start because he was coming off that virus from last week. He sat out a couple days of practice. He was sick. But get that guy, barring health, he's going to be a really good left tackle in this league.
Likeable kid, too. Zach set him down. That was fun. Texas kid. Loves Manu Ginobili.
What'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, everything that the reports are, and, you know, when you have a guy like Tyler Smith saying he's further along than I was, and we all know how far along Tyler Smith was when he stepped on the playing field. So, I mean, looks like they hit a home run with that one for sure.
Yeah, I don't want to disparage like preseason games because I saw Cooper Beebe's family, all those tweets yesterday about their mom and dad in the jersey and tweeting out when their son gets into the game, like the family aspect of all of these kids finally getting to suit up in a Cowboy uniform for the first time under the big lights. And that was awesome. But like, I don't know how good Cooper's going to be a center. Brock Hoffman played pretty well. The offensive line is going to be a huge question mark this entire season.
They have a series of them, right? There's a lot of boxes that are going to need answers one way or the other. And, you know, I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago. The Texans were in a similar boat last year with a ton of question marks, and they checked almost every one of them off as the season went along. And I don't know, it'll be fascinating to see because I have a feeling we're not going to see a lot of what the Cowboys are until week 1.
Yeah.
True.
And I think this season might come down to health. Because if you lose Chuma Edoga and you put Tyler Guyton in there, okay, well now you don't have that swing tackle anywhere with Chuma Edoga out. I mean, if you lose DeMarvion Overshown, who's going to fill in there? Like, they don't have a lot of depth to this team. So they're very top-heavy, and they need these rookies to step up. But if any of them get hurt, I don't know who's going to fill in for them on the back end. It's gonna come down to who's healthy and who's not.
Cooper Rush is your man.
God. I continue to come back to the point that they do not have a quarterback on the depth chart with a longer than 1 year contract right now. Like, every single quarterback on their depth chart is
or a head coach,
or head coach, or defensive coordinator.
Right.
This is it.
Yeah.
So
all in.
Bob, anything?
Certainly
I was
all
just
in.
curious how the Broncos looked. Did they anything?
Oh, thank you so much for
Did
asking.
anything pop in that game?
I haven't said the words Bo Nix in 31 minutes now. So Bo Nix is going to be
Jordan $5.
Did she actually? Bo Nix played so well yesterday. If they give Jarrett Stidham any time with the ones throughout the rest of camp, they are fooling themselves. He's going to start week 1. He's going to beat the Chiefs. He's going to take us back to the
Chiefs.
He's going to beat the Chiefs. He's going to take us back to the promised land. Bo Nix season, here we come. All right. I love it. I am all in on Bo Nix. I'm trying to come up with nicknames now for Bo Nix because Nix is so good for nicknames. So I forgot the ones I already said to Jordan last night. But anyway.
That's all we had.
That's all we had. All right, cool. Well, at least we got that in.
Do we know how Rashad Wisdom played in the Bucs game?
I didn't look. I wanted to go look because Cephas played for the Jags too. I wanted to go check both of them out.
Yeah, I didn't see their box score, but we had a few San Antonians in that Colts Broncos game, and Jalen Jones had a tackle. Didn't play very long, but you know he started. Looks like he's going to start
Josh
during
Reynolds.
the regular year. Josh had 1 catch for 11 yards, but
He had a bad drop in the back of the end zone
that was a pretty nice ball. It looked like that was thrown his way.
from Bo Nix.
And Elijah Garcia from Stevens High School had a really nice bowed his back goal line stand tackle for his only dot into the box score.
Yeah, they just the Broncos just lost a Texas alum too, Caden Stearns. They just dropped Caden Stearns off.
Yeah.
So that stinks for him.
You think he's done?
He might be.
He
Might be done for now. I mean, because the
He got
Panthers
cut, then he
picked
got
him
cut,
up, and
yeah.
then they cut him too. He failed his physical.
He failed his physical.
I mean, it sucks, right? I mean, here we
all
are with
the
a guy with
talent
an
in the
injury,
world.
and yep. Well, I mean, hopefully he can come back from the injury. He just doesn't look like he's ready to come back from it right this moment. So yeah, I mean, we're pulling for him, obviously.
So to summarize, Bo Nix is the best. All right, so that's all we got for
Okay, that's all we got.
That's all we got. That's all we got for.
Tom Guerrero's in the house.
Shout out Tom Guerrero.
Shout out Tom Guerrero.
That's all we got for on Sneakers and Cleats podcast. Today, remember, download, rate, review, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, tell a friend, tell an enemy. We'll see you on Thursday.